1, 2, 1, 2. Vienas, du.
Ai, palauk. Įjungtas garsas. Įjungtas.
Nu, garsas yra?
Dabar atsirado.
Nu, čia tas dėlėjus gal gadina. Vienas, 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 vienas. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Labas. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Nes 3 yra S labai ir tada gaunasi, kad tu negirdi, kada garsas ateina. Ta prasme, 1, 2, 3, tada iš eilės turi greit sakyti, bet jeigu sakai 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, ta prasme, nu gaunasi, kad planuoji pradėti kartais. Realiai iš vis geriausiai yra 2, nes tos trumpas žodis, toks, žinai, gaunasi. Tai pas su mumis pašėrina, ne? Live, tik dėlėjus bus. Palik tą. Gal kas pamokos tau? Išstryla. Nesvarbu. O, skaidrį knopkę reikia? Gerai, 6 mikrofoną numerį. Ir bus 1, 2, 3 ausinės. Ketvirtą ausinę galim čia pasiekti. Stringas bus. Jo, jau. Vienas, du. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Vienas, du, vienas, du, vienas, du, vienas, du, vienas, du, vienas, du, vienas, du. pabandyk šnekėti.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
Taip, ką žinau, gal ir būtų gerai. Čia aš gerai užsidėjau, taip profesionaliai atrodo, aš nežinau.
Vienas, du.
Hello? Hello! Hello. Hello and welcome to another Vilnius Tech Leads. Nice to see you all here. For those of you here for the first time, our format is quite simple. We have 3 speakers, and then we invite everyone to stay around for drinks and some food. Today we're going to talk about culture. And some of you might have heard the saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And culture is, what is this culture, this ephemeral thing that we all talk about? And why is it so powerful? These are some of the questions we will try to answer here today. Like I said, we will have 3 speakers. That's Balys, Ornella, and Vilnius. And without further ado, I invite Balys to the stage.
Hello? You hear me fine? That's fine? Cool. So thanks, Vinted, for hosting us. Really nice atmosphere here. Very cozy, and I think we're going to have a good time. So I'm looking forward to. I drove my car here, but I'm not sure if I'm going to drive my way back to Kaunas. We'll see about that. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about Hostinger and how culture is part of our company, how it helps us, how it creates growth, and it creates value for our people and for our customers. So just a short note about Hostinger. If you don't know, we're like a web hosting provider. We've been here for a while, since 2004. We have quite a few projects. We had a free web hosting platform which was launched the first, gained a few million customers on that. Then we decided to go with the freemium model to create an upgraded platform for paid users. They started upgrading, we got revenues. We didn't need to rely on Google AdSense ads on our error page for our salaries anymore. So that was quite good. Then we kind of evolved and went worldwide. So we established our Indonesian office, our Brazil office, local entities there, and we hire people in those offices as well. About a few years ago, we really started scaling, and now we have 500 people across the globe. 200 of them are in Lithuania, 100 and something is Indonesia, 50 plus in Brazil, and all of the other ones are working remotely from home. So how do we create a consistent culture with so many people when they're so dispersed worldwide, and you don't have one person to always look into? There's remote team managers, remote team leaders. You have to kind of construct a culture based on remote feedback and stuff. So for us, it was the kind of structure that we've created that helped us a lot. So firstly, we understood what is our mission, why are we here, what does our company do, what value do we bring to the customer, and what is the purpose why we're all gathered in the office today to kind of do something about that mission. So our mission is to basically help our customers. It's the simpler it is, the easier it is. So if you make it very hard, I know that some companies make the mission, we are like #1 when we do that and then do that, and there's like 5 sentences. You make it simple and easy to remember for users and for your employees, and they will understand and they will be able to contribute. So our mission has always been to help people, to help them succeed online, and that mission kind of evolved into helping our colleagues at work as well. Not only do we help our customers, but each colleague is a customer. Like if you are a different department, we try to help you in the same manner as we help the end customer. So this kind of really went deep into what we do and how we treat each other at the office. we asked a few people how do they feel about the culture, how, this general questions, what do they value the most at work? And I specifically pinpointed some of the engineers to make it more techy, I guess, for this event. Culture and tech sometimes collapses. It's very hard for the tech people to kind of contribute to the culture. They always think like HR and stuff is not my thing, I'm just going to code. So I think the idea that, whatever you do makes the change for a lot of people each day is something that you can relate. And this helps even the engineers to understand how their work basically changes what our customers think about us and how their lives, the customers' lives, are affected by what we do. Like they have an e-shop, they're able to sell, they're happy, they write us like, I can quit my job now and stuff. I think Vinted is kind of related. You have, the platform, customers are happy with it, they make a business, and then they can give you that feedback. So one of the ways how we do things in Hostinger, so we always have an event once a month or once per 2 months, when we greet all of the newbies that joined within that time frame. So I think this is from maybe April's event or maybe June or something. I don't remember now, but this was when about like 50 people joined in 1 month, and then we create a session with all of them. We answer their questions. We show what we did in the company, how we ended up where we are, and they can relate that. I came from customer support in that company. So in Hostinger, I joined like a customer success agent, doing DevOps and whatever you needed to do because there was 5 people in the company. And anyone who joins the company, they know that they can, get to that level, be the CEO of the company without any problems, just if they really feel that what they do relates to their own values. So we always say that, whatever your success that you reach in the company is Hostinger's success. Even if you succeed and you become, really, really good at something, and you decide to move on, we will congratulate you. We will greet you with respect, and you can always come back and say, we know who you are. You can always come back. It's not about where you're at this moment in life. I think that helps people as well, and we are more open with each other about it. I've added a quote from Donatas. You might know Donatas. I know how many of you are you worked with Donatas. I think he was in Vinted for a few years, and then he joined Hostinger again after he was with Vinted for a few years. So for engineers, it's also important to understand that culture is not just, as I said, some HR things and added hype to things. You have to have a structure and see how it helps to be more productive, how it helps to be more relaxed at work, how it helps you to create a psychologically safe environment for you to be open. So our culture is basically our core principles. So if we needed to define in 10 words what is our culture, these would be the 10 principles. And we're not very inventive, I guess, on many things, but we look at what the best companies are doing in the industry. So we look at Netflix, we look at Amazon, we look at Google, we just read whatever articles they post, and all of that information is, in the best books as well, like Ray Dalio principles and stuff. So we just kind of capture all that information, see what works for us, and then try to, agree on something, and then when we agree on it, we commit. So our principles starts with the customer. So basically, it's customer obsession. We treat every issue with ownership. We learn every day, and we're always curious. So we don't, if we find something, we dig deep. We don't leave it behind. We don't, disregard something. Hire and develop the best. So, whoever we hire, we try to develop that person onwards as well. Not just, we hired him and he will, make it himself. So we give him really good idea of how he can develop himself in the company and how he will be able to grow with us. High standards, I think that's kind of clear. We don't want to lower the bar. Sorry, it was asked. I thought it was a question. It was myself. So freedom and responsibility. We give a lot of freedom for our employees. We don't really care if you're at the office, you're at home. If you need to take a day off, you can just take a day off. No one really cares. As long as you get your job done and you are there when we need you to be there. We use term focus because we use OKRs. So each quarter we create a focused objective and then try to execute it. So we're not only working in KPIs and the regular things to make the company alive, to keep the company alive, but we always create a focused objective for 3 months, for a quarter, for 1 year, for 2 years, and we kind of try to execute that. So it gives a good idea for everyone how they are, with their department or their team in the global picture for Hostinger. We don't like to slack off, so that's just the number 8. You better do something and not create a meeting about it. I think that appeared when we understood that we're doing too many meetings. It's like, if you can do it and then we can do a meeting about it, then that's better. So I think that's the number 8, and it helped a lot. Not being afraid to ask questions and to be open about everything that you do and why you're doing it. Like, why is this important? For me, maybe it's not important. Why do you think it's important? Okay, this is because of that. Okay, I'm going to commit to it. And if you kind of do all of the 9, it kind of automatically delivers results. So for us, it's a formula. If you're able to to deliver on all of the 9 principles, the results will just appear themselves. You don't need to think about how do I do results. So if you are able to work on that, the results will come automatically. So that is my quote here. So I don't know if I should read it or anything. So again, this our company is not a playground. It's not something, and we took this from Netflix. This idea. It's not about playing. It's not about being happy. It's not about everyone should be in quorum. No one should tell something different. So it's a team sport. It's like basketball. The team has to deliver. If it doesn't deliver, someone's doing a bad job. Either it's the quarterback or the whoever is in the team. There's someone who is not delivering. If everyone is not delivering, then it's the coach probably. So it's not a blame game, but it's usually when you think about work, you should think about I came here to win and to deliver, and everyone else came here to win and to deliver, and then you can respect your colleague. So the principles that I've shown, they're also used when we think about do we promote this guy? Why do we want to give him a better salary? What did he do? So we can come back to the 10 principles and see how she was able to deliver on each of our principles, and we give a mark, like 1 to 5 or something. Each of the related managers give a mark, and they see, okay, so she's customer obsessed, like 10 out of 10. She's biased toward action, 10 out of 10, and stuff like that. And we see where people are good at, see where people are not so good at, and it gives us kind of a good view of how do we know, who's doing good and who's doing not so good in the company. So we have an HR department, and they're doing a lot of interesting things, and one of them is working directly with people in teams. I mean, these principles and these ideas that I mentioned before are more related to results, right? Customer, and then there's the middle, and then the results. So it's all about work. Then how do you make the atmosphere and the culture and the vibe in the company nice so everyone wants to come to work? Again, we used the ideas of Google. They developed the system for 5 years. They invested probably hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars into the system, and they were able to basically create a very good view of what does it mean to be an effective team. What is an effective team? So maybe it should be like downwards, but it means that if you don't have one, you will probably not have second, and then all the way to the number 5. So if you want to have an effective team, each member in the team has to have psychological safety, meaning that he's not afraid to come to work, that he'll die or something, or he will lose the job for some reason, or he knows that he's doing something meaningful. So dependability, again, trusting and being able to trust your colleagues. If I asked him to do something, then she gave me the result, and she was able to give me the thing I asked for. And if she said no, I know the reason. Having a clear structure in the team, meaning that I guess it's obvious. Then creating meaning from your work. It's like I coded a system, but I know it has no value, right? So we are doing this thing, but no one really cares. So that's kind of a common thing in some companies, like a very big company, they have a department. There's a lot of people doing some things, committing code and creating APIs and making things faster. But deep down inside, they know it doesn't matter. Like no one will care. So, this is something that you have to really work with the team and understand, do you feel that what you do is meaningful for team level, for department, for company overall, do you understand why you're doing this? If you don't, then don't do it, or object doing it, or tell what you need to do. What make the priorities different. And the impact, I guess that's when the team delivers and they're able to shine as a team. So what did we do? So we needed to measure each of these, right? If you have a team, you need to have a measurement for each of these 5 from whatever scale you want to understand, okay, this team is doing good, this team is doing bad. We have a lot of remote teams. How are the remote teams doing? Is the vibe there good? Do they have bad apples? Is everyone in sync with each other? So we created, I just grabbed a few snippets, and it's fake data, so don't worry. It's not, Justina is quite happy. So these are the guys from HR. So we have a team pool service. We send the survey through Slack each 2-3 weeks. It depends on the team leader who wants to maybe do things more often or do things less often. So they send a questionnaire, and it's measuring. So it's a snippet, but it's measuring. So it's measuring on each 5 of them. So there will be 5 questions every 2-3 weeks. The questions will be different. Not always. Do you feel psychological safety? Yes, no, other. Dependability? Yes, no, other. No, it's kind of, we developed a lot of questions that kind of answers the question, but not in a direct way. And it's easier to see a better correlation when things go good or bad. So each of the team members gets this. The answer from a scale to 1 to 6. If we, get 6, then person is quite happy. We're really stressed to everyone that they should be honest about this, and there's no bad thing if you answered 0, if you felt like it, that's fine. We're not gonna fire you or your manager on day, like he answered 0, you're fired. So that's not how it works. It's about improvement. So we have this implemented for I think for everyone, for about 400, maybe 60 employees. So there's a few left maybe here and there. But when we get a team, everyone answers, we get a result for each team member. We get the results for the whole team. And then we kind of draw some charts of how the HR is doing. Like they have all these 5 pillars. Now, there's 3 of them, but there's 2 more. How do they feel on each of the Google's developed system for 5 key dynamics that makes a good team, an effective team. And then we kind of measure graphs and see which team is better at some things, which team is not good at some things. Like this team can prioritize tasks. The score is lower there, so maybe they need to work on their OKRs or their KPIs. Maybe it's harder because it's HR and it's always, something's coming up, there's an event, there's something there and here. So this helps us a lot. This is one of the instruments that makes culture mathematical and helps us see how we're doing overall in the company. Yeah, and my last note about this presentation is that when you have a lot of people in the company, you should listen more, and you should. That's why I added so many quotes. I asked the people how they felt about the culture. I cannot be just one person saying, "Oh, it's great." The others will tell how it is. I will be just the guy who gathered all the opinions and then told you how it is. That's why I added this quote, because basically culture is everyone's opinion, and if it's good, everyone will tell you it's good. So thank you, everyone. Thanks. Do you have any questions? Questions? Arm there.
Is it working? Okay. Did you consider to do this polls anonymously?
No, we don't like anonymous polls, and this is some people asked for it, but we specifically said we're not going to do anything anonymous. Even if you have like an event like this, we usually have like some poll that's running, everyone can add questions. Whenever we added anonymous quotes, like some random garbage started appearing, and then you don't own the question. If you want to ask the question, you should own it. Why does it matter to you to ask the question? And even if it's a hard question, you should own it. And same goes for the polls, and same goes for all of that. So now we really cleared this up. So whenever we do an OKR closing event, we have like a lot of teams doing their presentations, what they did in 3 months, and stuff like that. And then we have quick feedback about all the presentations. Sometimes in the middle of the event, people are already rating. And if you came unprepared, you will get zeros from pretty much everyone. Or if your slides had invalid data, they will say like, for data I will give you 0 because it was invalid. And they're not afraid to add this opinion because it's honest and it's true. So you have to improve next time.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question. What kind of app or, I don't know, program you use for this? Or did you create by yourself?
This was created by ourselves. We tried to, we investigated a lot of what would work, like Bamboo HR and all, I don't remember the names of, there's so many like others, Workday, but none of them really worked for us. It was a tool that had one feature and then 75 others that we will never use, but we only needed that one, and it wasn't really perfect. We needed to tune it, so we gave this task to our developers. They created like in a week or something, so it wasn't really hard to create, like something like this. It's just a survey and results, and then draw a graph. So it was pretty easy, and now we collect this data. We will, have it forever.
So 2 questions. First, you mentioned a few surveys and that employee evaluation that you do on those values.
Yeah.
So how these all spread up during the year? Or how does it look like? How often you meet? Who speak with who? What's the process?
So the process basically is we don't have yearly performance reviews. We create these urgencies based on the team pulse. So if the person is really happy, always happy, you're happy. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be not happy for you to get a promotion. But we do one-on-ones every 2 weeks. So each team leader does one-on-ones with each team member. And, he will see when the person is growing. He will see when the person has, maybe contributed to something big, or he wants to become a team lead or like a senior, or, his work is, more meaningful. He is able to treat others or to coach others. So I guess it's like on demand, I would say more. We don't do like, oh, it's time for everyone's promotions. Let's do one-on-ones and we'll see who gets it or not. It doesn't really work that way. It's just like on personal level mostly.
And the other question is, where those initiatives come from? Because you're working with as well colleagues in other countries?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So is it coming from here, from Lithuania, all these value measurement ideas, or is it shared collective decisions?
The management is in Lithuania. So basically all of this is pretty much maybe more pushed from our office because it's where it all began. And we have remote branches more. So, we have a local director maybe in Brazil and Indonesia. They have their office, the director is kind of, always there. But the guys who work there, they don't all report to the director. He's not like the single manager with 40 employees. The guys who work there just come to the office and he just makes sure that they don't trash the place and, that everything's kind of in order, and maybe give some, bigger announcements. But the guys work with team leads who are either, in the office, or a lot of them are in Lithuania. So we have, let's say, SEO team. The team lead is in Lithuania, and she has 8 members, and they're all worldwide. There's some of them at home, some in Brazil, some in Indonesia. So she time manages, based on what time zone they're at, their one-on-ones and stuff like that. So, and she just uses this, framework, and everyone's committing, and it just works the same way. You don't really need to be next to the person. Sometimes it works better, but Skype call or, Google Hangouts works similar.
So I have a question. What are you doing if someone is not filling any forms and refuses to give us survey responses?
We take him to, we talk to him, like we do a one-on-one. So it's if there's a team, the team has the team leader. If the team is not, filling this form, there's the manager's responsibility to understand why that's happening. If he just doesn't want to, then why? Is it hard? Is it like you don't want to tell something? So, there's kind of a hidden reason maybe. You don't have time. So, you kind of ask the person, and then I don't think that's a big deal to create this, to click 5 buttons and maybe add an open answer to some question every 2-3 weeks. And I think it's just the manager's responsibility. If what happens if they don't fill? So it's the same, like what happens if a person, doesn't do his job and he just does something else. So, you ask him to do it. If he doesn't want to cooperate for some very, very interesting reason, then, the values are, I guess, different.
2 final questions, one here and...
I would like to ask you maybe about some failures, because I am a strong believer that you actually, pain is healthy for learning process as well. So basically, do you have any stories or failed assumptions or some growing pains which teach you something?
Growing pains in Hostinger. Okay, so there's one growing pains. If you said culture eats strategy for breakfast, then it's the opposite as well. The strategy, if there's no strategy, the culture is like eating something and it just, everything is a mess. So you have to have strategy, and for us, when we grew very fast in a very short time, I guess the common strategy and common goals is something that is a growing pain. There's a lot of people who are juniors working up to 1 year. They say that they know what they're doing, but if you leave him, he will just kind of decline very, very slowly and into some mediocre nothingness. So you have to work with everyone. You have to make sure that they really know what they need to do and why they're doing it. So this is a growing pain, and we are solving this by creating SLOs. So service level objectives for each service. We try to understand what service does the team create or support, and what are the objectives for that service, and how do we measure it by some indicators, and even trying to add a lot of things to PagerDuty, like the conversion rate drop, PagerDuty. Someone has to do something about it. So I think this is one of the growing pains which we try to solve, this OKR.
I have a related question to the one that was previously asked. Well, first of all, amazing what you guys are doing. Really, really adored. So the question is, being a good team leader is a challenge. You first have to know your field, and you have to lead the team towards, some result there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to be a good people's person and to do those one-on-ones and to extract value, to give value, to do all that. And not all team leads, especially the more towards the techie side, are good at this. How do you guys handle this? Because in my personal experience, find it very difficult to do that with the team lead, with some team leads.
Yeah. So this is I guess it's a common thing. So when you make someone a manager who maybe didn't really want to be a manager, or he understood maybe later that he's not good at it, or he's wants really bad to be a manager, but he's not yet, qualified. So what we do firstly with because a lot of managers in our company are fresh and young, and they don't really have like years and years of experience how to deal with things. So, but they usually have good field coverage. So they know they're good at the field, and they will be able to instruct the other guy on how do we do things in that field. So we give them the high output management book, if you know it. So just the first task, read the high output management book. And that helps a lot because it's like it's not even a book, it's like a workbook. It's just like, how do you do things at that point? How do you do things at that point? And you just follow the pattern kind of blindly first, but after some time it becomes natural. You understand why you're doing this. You will see results from your team, and these surveys help so you don't feel that you're managing something, and because the first thing that happens to a fresh young manager, he really is afraid of not doing things. He's like, I kind of manage this team, but really have to commit some code because they're going to fire me because I'm not doing anything. I'm just talking to people. So you have to understand this, how talking to others helps everyone. So this is the team pulse thing that helps to kind of, I have my team pulse. I see, some numbers. I'm good. So my advice is just read some books. High Output Management, maybe the first one. John Doerr, books from John Doerr for OKRs. Measure What Matters. Then Principles. Then the HBR blog is really good. You can find a lot of things in HBR blog. The Harvard Business Review. There's a lot of things that we have snippets from HBR, and Google Rework. So this is where that slide for Google that I've shown, it's gone. So the Google slide for this is actually Google Rework, and then you just write Google 5 key dynamics. You will go to the Google Rework page, and they have the full course for new managers. So how do you become a manager at Google? And it's like just a full course with slides, with the exercises, with everything. And you go through slides, you read everything, and a lot of information is about how to be a good coach. So I think this is the first thing. You be a good coach, you know the field, and you're able to give this knowledge to others and empower others, and to create clarity in chaos. This is something that managers really need to do sometimes. There's a lot of chaos. You come in as a manager. I was like, this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be the result, and you start doing it, and you will see that result. And it will be better. Because without a manager, some people do this. No, I think we should do that, and there's no clarity and focus. So this is my advice.
Thank you. A lot of things you've talked about around surveys resonated with me because we do also surveys at Vinted. We call them "Are you happy at Vinted?" and we do them every 6 months. So I will talk to you about that. And now I invite Ornella to the stage.
I brought something to distract you from me talking. So I'm not sure if it's a good idea. It's called Treatwell book. It has some things that I'm going to talk about. So send it through the arms of people if you're interested to look at it. So about culture. Culture is something that I often think about. Not necessarily, I think like, culture. I think about people and interactions, and that's a big part of what I call culture. I almost fell into the trap while preparing for this presentation because it's such a wide and such a interesting topic to me, and I wondered like, what would be the most interesting thing for me to tell to you? And well, I did quite a lot of soul searching, looking at the blank slides over and over for quite some days. And then I thought that, it's easier just to say things that I kind of know. So I'm going to talk about culture at Treatwell, maybe from a little bit different angle. One other thing I want to tell about the culture to maybe set some context, like, how I understand culture. And it was actually a aha moment that I reached then preparing for this presentation. So it's kind of fresh discovery of mine. So as an agile coach, I tend to think about complex systems. And complex systems are systems that would behave in certain ways despite the fact that we interact or we choose not to interact with the system. So for me, it was like, aha, so culture is actually a complex system. And as agile coach, I know how to deal with complex systems. Complex systems respond like to probing. You do something and you see what kind of outcomes you get. You like the outcomes, you do a little bit more of probing or experimenting in that area. So this kind of helped me to shape the lens of this talk today. So the lens that I'm gonna look through is the interaction of the culture with the strategy, and how we at Treatwell use very much the approach of experimenting and probing, treating the culture as a complex system to improve it, to evolve it further. So in the book that I'm sending around, you may find few things. You may find things about our strategy. It's outdated. You can copy it, it's still. And you can also find some things about our culture, and that's pretty fresh. We still have the same guiding principles, we still have the same values, and we still are driven by the same beliefs. So to quickly summarize what are the key building blocks for culture at Treatwell is our belief in freedom and responsibility. And it's not like, I copy-pasted it from you guys. You kind of copy-pasted it from Netflix, so we also copy-pasted it from Netflix. So yeah, it's not something that we kind of discovered, but it's something that we truly believe in. We also have 3 values. So being courageous, open, and driven. Well, they say that, many happy families are happy in the same way, while miserable are miserable in the different ways. So I guess it's natural for, successful companies to share kind of some of the same building blocks for the culture. The other thing that we use and kind of what helps to guide our culture is principles in which we act. So we truly believe in, taking an ownership of something, setting ourselves an objective, owning that objective, acting incrementally, so basically doing a small thing, measure it, and then, if it's a success, build a little bit more of that, and, deliver results, act, not to slack out. And again, it's very similar to what we just heard. And it's all good and nice. People at Streetwell are in general quite happy. But the story I want to tell is, oh, fuck. Yeah, that was the thing. That if you do a presentation and then you forgot that you have a slide and you start talking about everything. So M's and O's, strategy, also very important. Yeah. So we call our strategy M's and O's. M stands for multiplier. O's are objectives. We use OKRs. So that's about that. Culture, strategy, Treatwell is very good, but Tech at Treatwell has another great story, and this is the story that I want to share today. So about maybe 5 months ago, we had a tech leadership summit where we discussed what is it needed for us to go to the next level. We kind of had to sit and look into the mirror and acknowledge to ourselves that we are a good team, but we are not yet a great team. We improve and we move towards the right direction. Yet, if we move at this speed, it will take us ages to get where we want to. And we really need to do something about it. And out of that meeting, we came up with a brief kind of, symbol or this very abstract idea that was kind of guiding us towards where we want to go. We kind of called it Blue Star. And it's kind of a funny story why we called it Blue Star. Well, the first thing is that our CTO doesn't really see colors well. And in his presentation that he used, he had a red star. And since we are from Lithuania, we said that, guys from Lithuania don't kind of want to get into the situation where we are following the red star. So in like 5 minutes, the color of the star was changed, but because of this anecdote, it became like a strong symbol that kind of bonded our leadership group. And we were so excited, we all, even though we just had this, even though we just had this very abstract idea of this blue star, we all were like, yeah, that's the thing. And we came back to our local offices, we came back to our teams, and we were all like, let's do blue star, let's do blue star. And everyone's like, what is blue star? Like, why are you talking about that? And well, we realized that however powerful the symbol may be, it doesn't have its power until everyone knows it, understands it. So we said, okay, ambitious, very, we want to run fast, but maybe baby steps first. Let's introduce people to what a blue star is. And we kind of started to look into, and we wrote a Blue Star Manifesto that encompassed a vision and the action plan, the strategy, and also some parts of the culture. We did a workshop with team members where we kind of asked them what would be values that they could stand behind. Like they would be proud to say that this is our values at Treatwell. So we shaped our culture within the culture of Treatwell. And that was a very interesting journey for everyone. Everyone kind of had a chance to speak up, to say what is important, and we kind of did quite a lot of soul searching. We actually used the OKRs, and that was the first time when we created OKRs in the tech, outside of the general Treatwell business OKRs. So we used everything that we already knew and that everything that already worked in the Treatwell in the bigger scale, and we downsized into something that worked for us at tech. And we kind of added our own special spice on it. So other things have followed. We wrote the manifesto, we did the works about tech values, we introduced people to the tech values. And people started to use Blue Star in the groomings, in the planning sessions, just talking with each other. it was not yet a strong driving force. So quite recently, we decided to boost it even more, and we did a Blue Star, Camp Blue Star, where we invited people, like we rebranded our hackathon, invited the entire tech people to this beautiful venue in London, and we asked them to think about the themes that were written in the Blue Star manifesto. At first, people were like, it's too ambiguous, you know, it's a job for managers. Like we don't really understand that business talk, you know, we don't really kind of care about, you know, onboarding or hiring, you know, or we don't really want to talk about fluff, like, you know, values, etc., etc. But we tried to make it so fun, so engaging to people that everyone who came, they just started to use like a Blue Star, like something that they wear with a pride. You know, it's not some sort of slang. It's more of a generic, positive term. And this is like my main takeaway from that is that if you clash the culture and the strategy into something, and you can create a powerful, simple to remember symbol for your team to constantly think about, it starts to create attraction. And we started to move towards Blue Star, towards that vision that we discussed. Well, it's quite recent. It was May. And we also use surveys to measure the engagement of our teams. And in April, before we kicked off the Blue Star initiative, the engagement score for the tech was 8.2, which we already considered a good thing. And it seemed like it will be very hard to move it somewhere further. And just after I checked the data today, which I think represents last month's survey results, engagement at tech is already 8.6, which is something that started to move way, way faster than it was moving before. And I think that it's pretty outstanding. So yeah, clash culture, the strategy, and you will get nice results. I think, oh, damn it, I totally forgot those slides. So what? Yeah, improved pecan scores. And now what? We keep on iterating and improving and experimenting with all of these things that we learn. So, yeah. I totally gonna go without slides next time.
So, what is actually a Blue Star?
That's the thing. No one really knows. It's just a symbol. It encompasses our vision. It encompasses our values. It encompasses our strategy. How do we want to move towards that? It's just like a, North Star or something like an objective so far away where you don't have a straight path towards it. It's important for people to kind of have this mental image of what does it mean to do a Blue Star work? What does it mean to be a Blue Star, colleague, and all of these things. So we have artifacts to explain it in more detail, like, the tech values. So we can refer to the tech values when we talk about good behaviors. But instead of using quite a lot of different jargon and saying, oh, use, this is the tech value that you should remember whenever you act like this, instead we ask, does that help us to reach the Blue Star?
Can you tell me what TreatWell does? And
Sure.
Like the company, I don't know what you do. And what maybe you can tell me one OKR which you were able to succeed on as a company?
Okay, so TreatWell as a company does a marketplace for booking beauty. We have a demand and supply side of this business. So Demand is a marketplace app for, users like you who wants to get a treatment like haircut, medved, massage, or something like that. So download the app, and you 24/7 you can book, the salon and treatment of your choice in your country. So this marketplace app is built in London, and here in Vilnius we have a supply side of the business where we create tools for salons to actually manage their business in, most gracious, beautiful, and glowy way. So, and for the OKRs, maybe I could share, since I was talking more about tech side of the company, maybe I could share some of the tech OKRs that we kind of had and maybe have. So, for example, we are not really proud of our release cycle. Part of our application is still monolith, and we kind of marry it to, everyone has to release at the same time. And this is not something that we kind of like. So one of the OKRs was to release 21 to have 21 planned release within a quarter outside of the regular release cycle. So we could maximize the value delivered for the users, and as well to learn about, pain points in our delivery pipeline. So many of our OKRs, like feeding into our objectives, like key results feeding to our bigger objectives. And if we just start to tackle a single objective, we kind of create key results that would help us to learn more in that area. So it's very much like this incremental approach. So with this point releases, we wanted to know what does it mean for us, like how much of the pain it would be to release outside of regular cycle, and what would be the areas where we could improve the most. The other OKR, for example, key result for this quarter is to make a Treatwell more famous, so that's an objective. And key result is to speak at 8 conferences and meetups. Yeah, swearing during doing so, I don't think that was, in the key result, but still, doing my share. So we use, so the question was, how do we measure engagement? We use a tool called Pecan. And Pecan is, I don't know, the tool was chosen by someone. Really don't have very detailed information about it. And it kind of does an analysis, like has quite a lot of questions. Pretty sure they are smart questions. And then based on people answer, the Pecan identifies trends as well as like drivers for specific areas. So we send out the Pecan survey every month, and it's anonymous. And we only look into the data per country, per department, etc., etc. So it's more for us to like see trends in more like not in such a granular way as it's in a previous example. So, anything else? By the way, I forgot to mention, like, Treatwell is a really cool company, and we do quite a lot of cool stuff. You can actually check out our Twitter. So, yeah, there are some videos, fun pictures, pictures from us doing fun stuff, etc., etc., which I have not put into my very blank slides.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're ready for the third speaker? You ready? Welcome to the stage, Vilnius.
Thank you. I think that's last slide, maybe to the first. I know you guys want some beer, but maybe... So my name is Vilnius, and today I'm gonna talk with you guys using stories about culture. I wanted maybe to put some numbers on something, but I think stories tell most about the culture. And the culture is many different things. I think one of the things is culture from the person who's leading the product or the company. I think it's overrated because you look into that person and want his ideas, his vision. And you also get culture from your own company where you work. And it's also stemming usually from the founder, because he chooses people he wants to work with. And finally, there is some certain culture how your product users use your product or service. So a little bit about myself. So I started my programming career with Project Klaidutis. This is a Lithuanian language learning tool. I'm not sure if somebody used it. It's still on. It's hard to kill. And I still pay for hosting $20, but it's just hard to kill first baby, you know. Then I worked at Honor. Don't ask me why I end up working for real estate developer in Lithuania while being programmer. It just happened. But I think it turned out to be okay. And then I did internship at Spotify. They are based in Sweden. It was a very interesting experience. And then my 7 years were spent back in California working for Facebook. Probably a lot of people use it. My English is not great, neither Lithuanian, so I'm in the weird situation now. But I think because I needed to adjust. Actually, from the English score, I got 100 in the high school. I was invited to president because I got very good score. And I learned all these English phrases like to kill birds with 2 stones. And you know what? Go to California and you want people to understand you. You adapt to culture and you say, I go you with me, because you want them to understand you. And finally, gig is product City Now. So this I'm gonna talk about later. And this is tool to find your best new construction home. And some people say there are some kind of pigeons in there, and actually it's not true. It's skyscrapers. So because my budget for logo was 50 euros. So that's what you do in Scrappy Way. So before I get into each experience, I would like to tell a bit about the product, City Now, the last gig. And by the way, I think the idea of this talk is, after all, that each of these experiences, despite they look very different, ended up landing on this last product. And I took away something and bring it to last piece. So what is City Now? It's a tool to find your best new construction home. And I was thinking about mission for a lot of time, and I think the mission is to feel safe when you're buying a new home. Because everybody, when spending their 100 or 200K, wants somebody to say that you did good, this is a good property and good developer, and you're good. And they want this approval. So I think I want to fulfill this seek of safety. And the product itself is a map of all the new construction planned and new construction in Vilnius. It's also available in Kaunas and Klaipėda. And you can also see what's upcoming in upcoming few years. And that's the way you can look for best property. And the killer feature is ability to search among 5,000 units of condos in Vilnius. If you use maybe Arodas, you can see that's only few listings. And also you need to pay to get listed as a project. And finally, there's no upcoming construction. So I think all these features combined, it makes you easier to find your dream home. So as I told you, it's a tool to find the best home from 150 projects and to navigate what do you need and what is the best for you. So because I want to tell some stories, so I'm gonna structure it this way. Out of each of experience I had, I will tell one thing I loved about culture, one thing I hated about the culture, and one memory. I think when you quit a job, you want something to stay, and I skimmed through my memories and tried to remember one thing I remembered which I really enjoyed, because I think that story is part of the culture. But first, I told before that culture comes a lot from leadership. And we all know what are the values of the key leaders these days. Bezos, he's obsessed with customers, and he would do anything to serve you. I can prove that myself. I actually bought industrial coffee machine from Amazon back in California, shipped it back to Lithuania. I plugged it in, and it kind of burned, because the electricity is different, actually, 110, and in Lithuania it's 220. And I told Amazon that I just plugged in and it doesn't work, and it changed it. So this proves that this core value triples from the leader to all the way to customer service. Similarly, Zach is obsessed with being open and more connected, and you can see examples all over the place. For example, his last Q&A was public, and everybody could stream in and listen to company secret. So he's not only telling, but he's living with his values. Steve Apple is obsessed with the product, and he's really want the product to shine out. And Uber founder was notorious that he would ask permission later before doing. But if you think about when you're a leader, maybe this culture started a bit earlier. That's how they were grown and how their parents raised them, what values they put in. So this is a random slide, you think, but I think it's not. This is Kujali, one of my favorite bands in Lithuania. I hope everybody knows them. And I think this family is really inspiring me because they all are super talented people. One of those people you cannot beat in anything. They are good at soccer, math, they've finished Cambridge, they're good at music, they're super talented, and trying to understand why. I think because their family, and especially I think I saw father bringing drums to shows every time during rain, they were really supportive of what they want to do and being authentic themselves. So if you see their show, you can see that they're really authentic and bring what they really feel and what they think. So I think that's important, and you can just feel people lining up after show because they're super authentic. Similarly, I was allowed to be myself and pursue what I liked. Top left, this is me sitting at computer, hacking early stage. My father believed that computers is the future, and we saved as a family for a lot of months to get our first computer. And I think this support from my family to do what I like helped me on my career. When I felt I don't know what to do, I felt confident that it'll be all right. So now I'm gonna go through each experience and say what I learned from that. So first experience was Klaidutis as a product for Lithuanian language. And I think, in fact, it helped me to land a job at Facebook because I was passionate about something, and I went to interview back in California. And I think I didn't do great in interview. I think I failed at coding somewhat. But what I had is a lot of passion about product. I told how it was made, and Facebook actually had very similar problems, like how to moderate content, because this was also a product where people can put random content, and they can relate to that idea, and we had that connection. And I read interviews, and it matched. Culture fit was great, and actually that's what I think sometimes I'm missing during hiring, that to have some culture fit interviews. We had that at Facebook. One of the interviews were like 1 hour of interview to figure out whether you would be successful at this company. Would you match the values? So one experience what I really like, I think it was guerrilla kind of marketing that at that time, marketing, we didn't know what is marketing. We're just talking to people and convincing everybody to try it. And we were breathing and living the culture. And what is the culture of teenager? Being a bit better than your other school. For example, we added the ability to compete with other schools and see the scores. And the schools wanted to compete with each other. And I think important piece that we're one of the target groups. We were teenagers ourselves. We were the people where we compete. If we were adults, we would never understand how important it is to gamify the product. So I think the thing I liked on building that product was that building that viral community where we we don't know where we're going, but it's gonna be something big. And I think that's the bad part. Bad part, we didn't have the end goal, what's next. And also the bad part, the bad part was that a pair that students are notorious to monetize. They don't have money. So we ended a project. But it was a good experience to learn from. Then it was one of the biggest developer, Hanner. And actually, nowadays, what's the good out of it? I think because it opens doors with developers. Because I can go to the meetings and blend in their culture a bit. I say, I know you, I've been there, I've been working with you guys. And they can resonate. So kind of social proof before you can you have anything. So I think my favorite story, my role was to, as an analyst, I was making price lists, setting up prices for each apartment, and also when we get a commercial proposal to buy land, I would be the one to calculating in Excel whether we should pursue it or not. So I was following the script and I was doing all the things. And when I got one proposal, I thought that what is the advantage of that land plot? And I realized that it had quite neighbors. So I did this, put this into slide, and appeared that it was cemetery. So I think it was moral for me that don't follow the script accurately. And also was the guy who was making 50 slides and taking 1 hour. I didn't appreciate the time of the execs. I think one thing I really liked about this company is the attitude that either you do everything perfect or you don't do it all. Which is, for me, as a 19-year-old, was bad to digest, because when I had Excel, which I'm working for maybe 2 weeks and make it to work, and I bring it to meeting, and if during meeting the team leader figures out there's one small mistake in that Excel, the meeting would be canceled and we go back to our desk. That was very disappointing. And the bad part was unwilling to innovate. One of my jobs was to collect data, how many apartments each of the projects sell, and I was collecting manually. You can think of it scraping just manually. And doing this month to month, after 12 months it was enough. I quit because I just couldn't bear it. And they were just thinking that we should do it the same way as we used to, and it's going to be better. And even if we could automate it, writing some automatic scrapers, they're used to this model in real estate that we should stick what works and never innovate and take risks. And that was something I couldn't accept. Spotify, and that was quite short period, but I got some taste of it. So as you know, Spotify is based in Sweden, Stockholm. And my experience from here, that DevOps is not for me. I was working as a sort of sysadmin role, bringing tools to detect when something goes wrong in infrastructure. And I was surrounded by all these DevOps. And 90% of time, they were doing quite okay, just chilling, eating, playing football. But when it goes bad, those 10% time, it's really stressed out. They cancel everything and go back. And I realized that I don't want it to be there. I want to just slowly code and take my pace and be safe. So I think out of this experience, what I learned, that what I don't like. And the best experience was to having Ed Sheeran on board. So that was 2012. And Spotify was breathing their culture, and they brought in Ed Sheeran while he was on tour. And we had very small office, maybe 30 people, and Ed Sheeran, while he was not even famous, was performing to us, and it was very intimate, awesome experience. And later I get to like him. I even went to a show, but I couldn't see him before screaming girls in front of me. So it was very cool that they stick to the values, and even events are organized around the culture, what they believe in. So I think the best thing I really enjoyed is inclusion and respect. As you may know, Swedes, and maybe somebody worked with them, they're super inclusive and they avoid conflict. So even if I go around, if I'm even 5 meters away, they would switch English. They would say, maybe you want to hear what we want to say. They were super respectful. They always support me when I need help. Actually, in fact, that was not true in California. I went to California, and sometimes people would speak their own language, maybe Chinese or something. So I really remember this moment in Sweden that I was treated equally and invited in meetings, or at least offered ability to go to meeting. But I think one thing I would say was not right is not being authentic to their core values, because they were really partners with Facebook, and Facebook was selling of this social idea, and Spotify was trying few products to bring in social aspect in it. They in particular wanted to show that your friend liked this music, maybe you wanna listen to, but they realized that your friend music sucks. So one lesson that despite how good friends are you with your partner, create your own culture and don't try to copy, because sometimes it doesn't work. And lastly, Facebook, and because it's my longest experience, I would like to tell a bit more stories. First, cultivate team culture. This is our team. And people ask a lot of times, so how do you guys make work at Facebook? How do you organize work? Maybe use Agile or something? And I would say, I don't know what's Agile. Because we just do whatever it works. I think the assumption everybody's hopefully smart people and try to adjust and see what works. Sometimes we would do morning stand-ups. When we want to launch something, we would gather and for a week we do stand-ups. And if we don't, we cancel them. So there was no one to push for culture. And actually, in fact, if you work with the other teams, you realize that they have totally different culture. And what does, what does this picture say? We also have this tiny cultural thing that we don't want the pictures to become boring, and we would make it an angle, triangle. And that was our team thing. We would do it always when we travel. Grow. I'm not talking about hair. I'm talking about managers. So Facebook is, I think, famous for growing managers from within, because most of the managers, by the way, this is my manager and me, were grown from within the company. And several times our org tried to hire people externally, and they just didn't fit in, despite they did all the Silicon Valley show things like bringing coffee, hoodies, and all that. It just doesn't work. Because the engineer is, the manager is the person close to people, and he needs to understand the culture. So maybe it's only Facebook, but I experience a lot of things like that. Only maybe top exec level can adjust being hired externally. Other people are from within. Collaborate. This is me in Seattle. So one of the challenges in big companies is having the satellite office. I think we have discussion before in this meetup why it doesn't work, but it really doesn't work. So one time we tried to launch a product, and we need collaboration from Seattle office, and just code review really got stuck for days and did not go anywhere. But we decided to do something creative and just really flew in and get to know them, sit close by, nag them to review our code, sit in the bubble, think for a few hours, and it's really nice experience, and it's worked out. And instead of launching it in a month, we launched it in a week. By the way, this bubble thing was moved even to new office, despite they changed the buildings, but it's kind of small cultural thing. And Facebook had this thing that done is better than perfect. And if you can remember from the Hanner, it was different. Either you do perfect or nothing. At the engineering company, it's not like that. You want to iterate, learn what works, and do more of what is good. Another kind of local meme is win argument with code. So it is notoriously hard to convince engineers to switch to some other framework. So let me give an example. We had Git as a versioning system and Mercurial. And at some point, monorepo with Git didn't scale, and we figured out we need to move to Mercurial. And one way to do is to have flag day, that, by the way, guys, on this day, we're gonna switch to this system. And it needs a lot of things, like learn all the new commands and all these things, really hassle. But Facebook chose other way, that for a lot of time, you can choose both systems. It's kind of magic how they synchronize together. But they convince people little by little that new system is better by saying that, okay, to check out, this is gonna take 1.1 second instead of 1 second. And only when there were 90 people, sorry, 10% of people using old system, they had the flag day. But basically everything goes like that, there is no force to do change. I think the side effect sometimes is that you end up with a lot of frameworks in one product. Especially, I think, remember in front end, we would have like 3 frameworks still ongoing, and they all need to talk to each other. So it's kind of side effect, but I think it illustrates the point, how we did stuff. Recognize. So this is my colleague, Dewey, and he's celebrating his first year Faceversary. So when you have everything you need, you have good salary, you have free food and all that, last thing in the ladder is recognition, that somebody respects what you do. So we had this tradition that every year we had Facebook balloons, and we would donate, give them, and they can hang at the desk. And when you walk in the room, you can see who's celebrating 1 year Faceversary. And rumor says that it sort of correlates with how wealthy you are. If you have 10 balloons, then you maybe have an island somewhere. Motivate. So we have this thing, obsession about maybe Star Wars. A lot of engineers love Star Wars. So we had this thing that our badges didn't work. Didn't work anymore. They needed to upgrade. And how to convince engineers to go into security and upgrade them. So we figured that we're gonna install all the stage with your favorite Star Wars characters, and you go meet them, and nice lady Leia will give you a new badge, and that worked. And so these experiences were really what you made to come every day. And actually quite a lot of things related to Star Wars. For example, Jedi interview, what we call culture fit interview. Motivation 2. You can see me wearing Dead Code Society t-shirt. So let me tell a story about that. So at Facebook, we were valuing that you clean up your code. So if you delete 5,000 significant lines of code, you get this t-shirt. And it was notoriously hard to get them. They always delayed to produce. The guy who's producing them is out of office, so it's really like Gucci bag. So hard to find. And it should be significant lines of code. You cannot just submit some config and ask your colleague to delete it tomorrow. No, it really has to be significant lines of code. So this kind of trees like that kind of leads you to do things company wants you to do. And what I think really liked is stay mission focused. Compared maybe, again, comparing to comparison, Google, I find it hard to understand what's the core mission, what they want to do, because so many things. While at Facebook, I think I was really driven that it's trying to connect all the people, and it all makes sense. Why all these apps all make sense? Because they're about connecting with people just in different way. Maybe in small group, in bigger group, in pictures. So it all makes sense. And compensation, free food, good manager can hold you for 1 year, maybe 2, but mission can hold you for many years, 7 more, because you can relate to what you do every day. And I think important part of that, what I talked before, that Facebook allowed people to be authentic yourself, and there were no rules unless you don't respect others. If you respect others, you can do anything you want. So for example, Halloween was big, and you can wear costumes at work. We had an event where I showed people how to swing dance because I was passionate about it. and it was all okay. So there are basically no rules. And this authenticity helped me, I think, on this new gig. I created this tool which generates names for projects, for real estate projects. And if you think about it, it's kind of making fun of my clients. My clients may purchase my product, developers. So I thought maybe not a good idea to piss my clients. But I just went with it and posted, and it had a lot of views, 20,000 views on LinkedIn, and a lot of execs saw it. And you know what? When I go to talk to developer, they actually, it makes conversation warmer because we can have something to start to talk about. So I think this again and again proved that being authentic yourself is good strategy. But culture changes, and it should change. So Facebook, initially it was move fast and break things, but now it is different. It's move fast with stable infra. Initially it was make world more open and connected, but with all these things that different opinions creates all the trash that you conflict with your people around you, it changes to something different, bring communities closer together. So it's okay to change mission and culture when your company evolves. So the thing I like most is mission focused, that every day when I come to work, I realize that Facebook is what Facebook is doing and why, and doing even boring tasks like cleanup made my work day better because I felt related. And Facebook invested so much time first few months to bring in this culture and inspire you, and I didn't have to work a lot on tasks. I just was soaking the culture, and it paid off. And I really appreciate also feedback. I think the previous speaker talked about sort of survey, how the things go. So we also, of course, had this at Facebook. It was called Pulse, and every half year we would have survey with the same questions. Important part that we had the same questions, where, for example, can you relate to our mission? And how do you like openness in our company? Really big questionnaire. And we acted on it. We chose one thing to work on as a team, as a company, and we tried to do change. Important piece is not to try to do many things at a time, just one thing. Because if you try to do many things, it's gonna be bad. Similar like you refactor code, you should only change one thing at a time. Don't try to refactor anything. But I think one thing which I didn't like is obsession with performance and compensation. So all the people are really high performers. They want to perform, they want to go to career next step, earn more money, to buy houses, all that stuff, and created all this kind of obsession. How do I get promoted? So last year on Facebook, I was engineering manager and had to deal with this quite a lot. People coming and say, okay, how do you get promoted? So here is the dilemma. Either I say, you do this, this, and this, and that, and you get promoted. The risk with that is that if they do this checklist and they don't get promoted, it's the worst situation. They lose trust. The other side, that I say, you should do more initiative. And they also get confused, what is more initiative? So the final answer which I got into is, as you get more senior, you should be responsible for your own growth. If you're junior, you expect that your tech lead gives you some direction, but if you're more senior, you should do whatever it takes and find opportunities. Don't wait some manager to tell you that you should pursue this. Find those opportunities, learn something. You're given the space, you can work remotely, travel, get inspired, and just don't expect that somebody will say, hold your hand and just say, do this and that. So finally, to wrap it up, as I stated before, my idea is that you should connect each of the pieces out of this experience and bring it to next gig. Each of the experience, even if it's bad or good, is valuable to you and you should apply. So what I learned from Spotify? I think you should include and respect. There are different rules when you are in real estate space. They say they could call you and say, why you publish the price of this apartment? We don't want to. And you should respect. You should not be kind of playing hippie, and because they also your customer, you're in a kind of difficult situation. but you should respect their rules and how they do business. Facebook, stay mission focused. So my mission is to make it easier to find your new home. And when you know your mission, it's a bit easier to know what you need to build. Hanner, I think it makes sense to say that it's better to do perfect. In my situation, I should do perfect rather than not done at all, because this is information system where you gather stuff. If you don't find the information you're seeking one time, second time, then you stop going to my site. So I think I really need to be careful to do this. And finally, Klaidutis, it's about building community and talking to people who are your audience. And my audience is all these people, engineers with high salary and earning and can afford apartments in Vilnius. Thank you.
Thanks, Vilnius. I get the sense that you don't want to answer any questions.
Oh, by the way, I'll be in the Būsto Muge on Saturday. Feel free to talk with me about real estate or what's the hottest home. I'll definitely tell you.
Cool. Thanks to all three speakers again. Thanks for everyone for coming. Thanks to everyone who helps organize this event. It's not just me. You can clap for this guy and some other people. Now I invite you to stay for some pizza and snacks and some information about our future events before that. In November, we're going to talk about what not to do. In January, it's informal leadership. February, testing. March, conflict. We don't have a team for April. And if you want to speak at one of the events, for most of them, we already have 3 speakers, but for what not to do and conflict, we're still looking for speakers. So if you have anything interesting to tell about that, approach me or message me or contact me in any other way. I think that's it. Enjoy pizza and snacks, and hope I'll see you again here in November.